most. One of the subjects I really, really love teaching, and I really love sharing. Okay, because I can tell you for a fact, if you are the most prepared person in the interview, you are highly likely to get the job. So the person who gets the job, let us forget about corruption. Let us forget about nepotism and any other kind of ways that people do get jobs, okay, that are not legal or they're not really fair. But if we talk about fair and square, you getting a job, it comes down to interview preparation, right? It comes down to your qualifications, right? Your skills and your experience, right? But interview preparation takes a massive part of that. Okay, so if you're not well prepared, despite of you being very qualified, highly experienced, or highly knowledgeable person, you will still have a very, very less chance of actually getting the job. Why? Because if you're not prepared for the interview that I've called you for, it means you're not really interested to work with me. So if I'm an employer, I'm looking for someone who actually makes an effort to know a little bit about my company, to know about me, to know about my business, to know about the performance of my business. Apologies for that. To know about the performance of my business. So, and so these things are crucial because I don't want to hire someone who does not take interest on my company. Okay, maybe you are the first in your class, maybe you are top 10%, maybe you have a GPA of 4.5 or GPA of 3.9. Okay, but if you're not interested in my company, why should I hire you? Okay, so I'm not going to hire you. Okay, I will take someone who is maybe has low GPA than you. I'll take someone who's less qualified than you, someone who has less experience than you, just because they're enthusiastic about my company, they're high energized, they are very engaged, they want to make a difference, they want to learn, they're attentive, they're engaged, right? So tupo moja, we're together on that. So how do you actually prepare for the interview? Now we're going to look at some key things that you can do while you're preparing for the interview to make sure that you can stand out. So the whole idea is for you to stand out, because interview is about standing out, okay? So that when you finish an interview, someone can remember you, okay? Usimalize interview, watu wakumbuki kama ulikuwa katika interview. Umeelewa? Kwa hiyo unamaliza interview, yule ambaye alikuwa anakufanyia interview anakumbuka kwamba kulikuwa kuna fulani katika interview. Alikuwa kweli amejitayarisha. Yaani unakuwa katika kichwa chake, unakuwa katika akili yake. Umeelewa? Sasa wanapofanya assessment, when they are doing assessment, when they're reviewing the feedback from the interview, so they will have a score sheet, okay? They will score candidates based on different criteria and how they have answered specific questions, okay? And then, but they need to remember you, okay? They need to remember you. They need to have to be in a position where they're like, okay, even if we're not going to give job to Patrice, he did very well. He's really, really keen to work with us. He did research on this. He talked about this. He showed his knowledge on this, and so on. Okay. So how do you do that? Okay. The whole idea is to be the most prepared person in the room. Okay. So we're going to look on that, and then we're going to look at extra mile preparation. Extra mile preparation is the kind of preparation that most people don't do. Most graduates and university students don't do. So if you do those kind of preparation, you're going to stand out, right? What does the job require? This is job description. So understanding of the job description will make you better fit for the job, obviously, but will also make you look prepared. If you don't know the job description, if you haven't reviewed the job description properly, it means that you are not serious about the interview. And it's okay, because not every interview you're probably not serious in working in every place. Some jobs you may think they're just okay, but some jobs you really want them. Okay, so for you to show that you really want a particular job, you need to understand the requirements of that job. Body language. We're going to touch on body language, how that affects the way you communicate and how you get perceived because of the body language. Okay, and then we are going to look a little bit on interview questions. The questions we're going to look at, some of them are going to be different from the ones we have looked at, common interview questions that we covered the day before yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And then we're going to talk about icing the cake. This is the finish, okay? How you finish the interview is very key, because just as starting of the interview is key, finishing of the interview is what? Is key. Kwa hiyo unavyoanza interview na unavyomaliza interview ina impact sana. Can you please mute yourself? The way you start the interview and the way you finish the interview makes a huge difference. Why? The way you start the interview brings a first impression about you, okay? The way you finish the interview, it brings what? The lasting impression, right? Okay, Sindio? And you're more likely to be remembered by the thing you did at the last, or what you did in the end of the interview, right? Tuko pamoja? So let's go. Let's go on. So this guy, Gabriel Armando, said, be the most prepared person in the room. And this goes to in every aspect of life, okay? So if you're starting a business, this applies to you. You have to be the most prepared person when it comes to doing a presentation and so on. If you are pitching an idea, if you are pitching an initiative, if you are in the networking situation, if you're going for a conference to just network, you still have to be the most prepared person in the room. You have your business cards, you have everything that you need to make sure that the time you spend on that particular place is worthwhile, right? Be the most prepared person in the room. One of the best ways to get the job and keep it is to prove that you are the best prepared. You're the best prepared and most knowledgeable person in every room you walk into. Preparation is key and it cannot be faked. Kwa nini preparation you cannot fake? Because if either you're prepared or you're not prepared. You cannot pretend you're prepared if you're not prepared. Because to be prepared means you have to do the research, you have to do the work. Okay? You actually have to do the work. So, tuko moja. Okay, so research, meaning that you have to do not a simple research, not just looking at a website and say, okay, the website, this is when they started the business and this is the mission, this is the vision. That is very basic, okay? You have to go a little bit deeper than that. Have you looked at their financials? Okay, have you looked at the number of branches they have? Okay, have you looked at the new projects that they have started? Okay, right? Have you looked at their plans for next year or their 5-year plan? Okay, have you looked at news media? Okay, what does the media say about this organization if they did have media coverage? Okay, have you looked at reviews from clients? Okay, so research. Okay, sawa. Extra mile preparation. What do we mean? So you're looking at the company culture. What is the company culture? It's the way things are run in that organization. Okay, so the company culture will differ from one organization to another. Will also differ from one sector to another. Okay, so the culture in the finance sector is very different from the culture in charity, right? In non-profit, right? It's quite ambitious. People are pushing. The way people rise through ranks is quite different. Okay, when you go to charities or non-profit organization, it's all about people more nicer to each other, probably. The pace is different. Okay, the pace is this how the speed of doing things, right? And the speed of change as well, right? And people stay longer in charities and non-profit sector than in private sector, right? So the culture is the way things are done in a particular organization. What determines the culture? The culture is primarily determined by the leaders of the organization. Okay. Can you please mute yourself? Sorry about my slide going. Sorry about that. So who determines the culture of the organization? All right. Who determines the culture of the organization? The leader, right? So culture tends to go from up, going down. All right. So one of the things, some of the elements of the culture include the things that the company does during holidays. If, for example, they decide to have Christmas dinners, how they value their employees, how do they structure the organization? Is the hierarchy something that of a bigger deal, or is it the communication is quite informal? Okay, do people address each other or with sir and madam, or do people address each other based on the first name basis? Okay, so understand the culture. You can also understand the culture by how people are dressed up when you look at their company page. Okay, so most of companies, they would have about us section. When you look at that and you see how they're dressed, you get a little bit of an idea of the culture. How formal are they? Okay, so they're quite formal. It's a suit and tie. That's really pretty formal. Okay, maybe now these guys are just wearing shirt and trousers. So I would say that is a business casual. Okay, so it's business casual. So it's not super formal, but it's still quite business like your business environment. All right, but all these guys are just from a coffee roasting company where people just have unshaved beard and so on. So it's very, very different. It's quite informal. All right, so understanding the culture is key, because also by understanding the culture, you understand how you're going to dress for the interview as well. So you should always dress for the interview based on how they're dressing in their company page, right? That makes sense, right? You wouldn't dress different from that, because that's how they're dressing at work. So it's always safe to dress just a little bit above how they're dressing, just to be safe. Okay, don't go under. So if they are doing a suit and tie, you go suit and tie and a jacket, right? And a coat and a suit coat, right? If it's a woman, it's a blazer. Okay, but if they're doing business formal, which is just a trouser and a shirt, then you go suit and tie. You go to trouser, shirt, and tie. You don't have to do a coat. So that's a little bit above business casual. Okay, so that's how you dress yourself. Okay, the second thing you're looking at is organization performance, right? You can find this from annual reports. So you can find this from annual reports, especially for large organizations. So for large organizations, annual reports can be found through Google, but they can also be downloaded from their own web page. Okay, so what is included in the annual reports? Okay, key financial information. Okay, from profit, right? Profit, sales, any financial plan, number of the value of the assets they have, the profitability of their subsidiaries, if they have any subsidiaries. All right, the growth comparison of their performance year on year. Okay, so the key here is for you not just to look at how much they have, what kind of profit and sales, and what's the revenue for this year, but you're trying to look at the growth. How are they growing over 5 years or over 3 years? because I bet you very few people will look at the growth trend of the company they're being interviewed for. Okay, so if you go there and one of the things that you showcase in that interview is saying, look, Mr. Joseph, I understand that your company has been growing 10% year on year for the past 5 years. Would you mind telling me what's the secret of this success? Okay, so if I am Joseph, then I'll say, okay, so this guy actually went through our annual reports and realized that we have been growing 10% year on year. Okay, none of the candidates told me that. None of the candidates raised that. So when we asked candidates to ask us questions, no one asked this kind of question. So when you're doing this deeper kind of research, then when you're told, can you ask us any question? Do you have any question for us? Then you can ask intelligent questions. You can ask questions that they showcase your research, how deeply you researched that company. Okay? Tuko pamoja? So this is how you show genuine interest. Okay, so the only way for you to demonstrate that you really want to work in this place is because you really dive deep to find some information that other candidates will not be bothered to look for. Tuko pamoja? And interest in your projects, we talked about that. Okay, are they planning to build a new plant? Are they planning to open a new branch? Are they planning to move to another country? Okay, so you can find all this in their website, correct? Cynthia. So if you have that information, you take a note and you showcase that, because there are always opportunities for you to showcase what you have learned about that company. And you should always take those opportunities and showcase, because you showing that you have genuine interest has a massive impact on you getting the job from them. Okay, because people want to hire candidates that actually care about what they do. Tuko pamoja? Sawa? Okay, great. Sawa. Okay, sawa. And then, so who is interviewing you? So, okay, you have researched about the company, you have checked revenue, future projects, whether they are doing, whether they're expanding and so on, what's their performance, and you have even went back 2 to 3 years of performance, trying to understand the general trend. Now you need to know who is interviewing you. Okay, nani ambaye anakuinterview wewe? Je, umemresearch huyo mtu? Unamjua huyo mtu? Unajua position yake? Do you know the name of that person? Do you know the position? Do you know how long they have been working on that company? Do you know how they look? Tuko pamoja? Are we together, guys? So you can even find out how a person looks, because you can just take their name and go to LinkedIn and you can type their name and the picture comes up. And you know, okay, so Mr. Alfred looks like that. Rara looks like that. Jane looks like that. Okay, good. So when you go to interview, you don't need them to introduce themselves. You already know how they look. So you can just say, hello, Miss Jane. I'm Alfred. It's very nice to meet you. Hello, Mr. Alfred. I'm Alfred. It's nice to meet you. That would be quite interesting to have Alfred being interviewed by Alfred. Hello, Lara. Hello, Miss Lara. It's nice meeting you. My name is Alfred. Okay. So if they know that, okay, before you came there, you already know their names, you already know how they look. Okay. That's a good start, because you're starting from confidence. Okay. You're not starting with, hesitation. You're really confident because you know you prepared yourself. If you are doing an exam, or whatever exam you're doing now at university, if you're prepared, there's always a level of confidence that comes from by just doing preparations. It's the same for interview. So understanding who is interviewing you is key. So, kwa nini key? Nitakupa mfano. I'll give you one example. One of the interviews I was doing in UK, I'll give example in UK because I worked there quite a bit. I knew someone who was working on that organization for 10 years. Okay, so I really knew that. I knew their name. but I also knew where this person was working before. Okay, so when I went to the interview, when it came to questions, to the time for me asking them questions, I knew exactly who I'm going to ask a question and what kind of question I'm going to ask. Okay, so I was just like, oh, so and so, I know I found out that you've been working here for 10 years. Tell me, what makes you, love working in this place? What makes you want to work in this place? Okay, so they were like, okay, so this person actually already really did a research and understood that I have been here for 10 years. It also shows that you have taken interest on the interviewer. Hakuna mtu ambaye hataki wewe take interest kwake. Okay, binadamu yoyote, always they want you to take interest on what they do. They want you to take interest on their lives. Okay, kwa sababu tu binadamu tuko selfish kwa kiasi fulani. Umeelewa? So if you show that you have taken interest in someone, that person will feel better. So they will feel good. They will feel flattered, right? Si ndio? Tuko pamoja? Tuko pamoja, right? Good, good. Okay. Make a good first impression. Sasa sikiliza. Hapa ndo watu wanapofeli. This is where people fail. The reason people fail in interviews is because they fail from the start. Okay? You fail from the start. How do you fail from the start? Because you're coming there, as soon as you start the interview, you have failed the interview. Okay? You're coming to the interview late. You're coming to the interview sweating. You're coming to the interview, which means you are running. You did not give yourself enough time. You're coming to an interview not dressed properly or professionally. You're coming to the interview not knowing who is interviewing you. Okay? You're coming to the interview, you don't have the materials that you need to have when you're going for an interview, which is you need your job description, your CV, the copy of your CV, notebook, pen, okay, for you to be able to take notes. Okay, so you're essential, because you're not prepared, you will not give a good first impression. And when you enter into the interview, because you're not confident, okay, kwa sababu unaenda pale hauna confidence, kwa hiyo unaanza vibaya, hata usalimiaji wako hauko, sio mzuri. You don't know how to shake hands. Okay, so you don't know how to address people. So you don't know how to sit in your chair. Okay, all these things matter. Okay, and people are watching you. As soon as you enter, people are watching you. Okay, as soon as you enter, people are watching you. How do you present yourself? That is key. Okay, so you can fail here. Before the interview starts, you can fail. Okay, so if you give me bad impression, as soon as you enter, you have failed the interview. So how do you make sure kwamba unajiprepare for the interview when it comes to the location of the interview? What I used to do, I used to go to the interview location a day before. Okay, most of the time, if I don't know the place, I would go a day before. I go to that place where the interview will be taking place. I go there. How long does it take me to get there? I take a note. Okay, so 30 minutes, 1 hour or 2 hours. Okay, how do you get inside the building? You have to press a button and then someone will say, hey, who are you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so is there a parking? Am I coming with a car? So is there a parking? Where will I park the car? Kadhalika. How is the traffic? Okay, don't be late for an interview and say, I was in traffic. Why? Why you didn't know that there will be traffic on that time? Okay, because I am setting time, I am putting time away from my work. Okay, na kazi zangu na kazi nyingi. Okay, nimeamua kuseti muda kwa ajili yako wewe kuinterview wewe, alafu wewe unachelewa nusu saa, unaniambia ulikuwa kwenye traffic. Wewe ulikuwa hujui kama muda huu kuna traffic. Wewe ulikuwa hujui kama hiyo barabara ina traffic. Kwa nini hawakuweka muda wa kutosha wa kuarrive katika hiyo interview? Kingine, kuhusiana na location ya interview. Mimi nilikuwa naenda lisali moja, masaa mawili kabla ya muda wa interview. Natafuta mgahawa au sehemu ya kukaa karibia na interview, I just go there, I just get some tea or some coffee, naendelea kupitia notes zangu, sina haraka. Okay, muda wa interview karibia, nasogea tu, na natoka tu kwenye hilo jengo, I'm leaving from this building, I'm going to the building of the interview on time. Okay, I'm not sweating, I'm not puffing, I'm not unsure, I'm prepared. You get the point, guys, eh? Okay, perfect your handshake. How do you perfect your handshake? Is by matching the handshake. How do you match? Jinsi mtu anavyoshake mkono wako, wewe unaweza ukasense kwamba anatumia nguvu kiasi gani. Okay, na wewe unajaribu kumatch namna yeye anavyo nguvu ile anayotumia. Kwa kama yeye anatumia nguvu kiasi fulani, usilegeze mkono. Au kama yeye ametumia, usikazi sana, usiminye. Okay, sio mashindano. Okay, sio mashindano. Okay, you just have to match ye shake handshake anayo, nguvu anayotumia. Right? Unapokaa, you have to sit in a good posture. Right? Usikae umeegemea chini nyuma sana, si ndio? Usikae kama usikae una lean too much on the front. Kwa hiyo utakaa tu, you just sit straight, very straight, very neutral, si ndio? And then I maintain eye contact. Eye contact maana namwangalia mtu naye uniongelesha na mwangalia, si ndio? And then I am present. Present maana yake kwamba akili yangu iko pale. Okay? I am not distracted. Tuko pamoja. If we covered the body language class, would have touched more into this stuff. Tuko pamoja. This is very important, guys. So, the world accommodates you fitting in, but only rewards you standing out. So you have to stand out. What does the job require? Sasa, know the ins and outs of the job. From job description, what are the things you can do comfortably? We talked about this. Lakini it's good to remember. We will revise. Dear, what are items in the job description you are not comfortable with? Research every item of job description that you're not comfortable with. Kile unachokijua kimaki. Kile ambacho hauko sure kama unakifahamu, take a note. Ni kitu gani? Nenda kakitafute, nenda kafanye research. Kuna mtu alikuwa anafanya crash course. Sawa? Alikuwa anaenda kufanya kazi, alikuwa anaenda kufanya interview, alipogundua kwamba baadhi ya items katika ile interview alikuwa hazijui, zile items za job description alikuwa hazijui, akaenda kufanya crash course. So between the time he was told, look, Mr. So-and-so, you have an interview in, I don't know, maybe it was 7 days late. Okay, you have an interview on Tuesday, or you have an interview on Monday next week. This guy went and did a course. He did about 3 courses, crash course. Okay, all that led to that particular job. Okay, so by the time he went there, he had certificates already. So, because now you can do a course and get certificate the same day. Normally, so you finish, you get your e-certificate. Okay, so he showed that certificate he showed that qualification. Okay, so which means you say, okay, I know I don't have experience on this, but actually I did a course on this. So if you show that for the things that you don't have experience, you did a course, okay, you did a crash course, so that you have an understanding of how such thing works, it shows me that you are a person who wants to learn, you are a person who wants to grow, which means I can teach you, okay, which means I can show you around, okay. So I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry just because you don't have experience on X activity or Y activity, because I know you will learn, because you're a person who is keen to learn, you're keen to grow. You see how this works. So don't go there and then someone say, oh, so one of the things about the requirement of this job is you have to file this and this on ABCD, and you say, sorry, I do not have any experience on that, and then you finish there. Or I do not know how to do that. When they ask you, so do you have any experience on this? And then you say, sorry, I do not have any experience on that. And then you end this. What? So just because you don't have experience or you didn't do anything regarding that item, you have to do an extra preparation. Okay, you have to show that you really want that job. Okay, so you say, yes, Mr. Alfred, I understand that this is an item that I don't have experience. However, what I did, I took a course. I did 3 courses. The first course was teaching ABCD. The second course was relating to program A, XYZ. And the third course was relating to dash, 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 dash. With these 3 courses, now I'm able to have an idea and a knowledge of the process on how this thing works. Because every item on a job description has a process. So has a definition. Okay, you can find it on the internet. If you just research a little bit, you can find out what does it mean. Okay, what does it mean? What does it entail? Okay, when you know what it entails, it means you can find out how to do it. It doesn't mean that you have an experience on doing it, but you know how it is done. Okay, because you know now the step-by-step process of doing it. So the goal is you need to check each item in the job description and cross-reference with what you can do and what you have done. Okay, what you have done, that means experience. Okay, what you can do, sometimes it can be based on knowledge. Okay, so rather than examples of items you're happy, and you'll be ready to explain in detail if required. Manake ni kwamba vile vitu ambavyo you know you're comfortable, you have to take a note of them. Then what you do, unaangalia previous experience yako ambayo na match na hizo item, unaandika mbele ya hiyo item. Sawa, nilifanya kitu hichi sehemu fulani. Okay, so for example, wewe ni mhasibu. Okay, part of the job description is to do financial monthly reports, right? Kama una experience ya kufanya monthly reports, then utasema nini pale mbele ya ile nani ya ile item, kwamba one of the item has been put on the job advert is doing monthly reports. You write that I have done monthly reports when I was working for organization called blah blah blah. Okay, and I was doing this report, you know, with the help of maybe a supervisor, or I was doing this report myself, or I was overseeing doing of this report, or I was involved in doing this report by contributing in this way. Okay, kwa hiyo tayari una wajibu yako. Kwa hiyo kila item in job description, you have to write a little bit of notes in front of it or along with it. Okay, so you don't have to think. Okay, because in the job interview, it's not a time for thinking, it's just a time for answering questions. Okay, because you're prepared. You don't have time to think. You're just doing, you're just flowing. It makes it easier. Okay, because you know the examples. You have examples of all the things that you have done that relates to this particular job. Okay, sawa? Tuko pamoja? Okay. Common interview questions are a great opportunity to show that you're prepared. Tulisema hii kwamba kama usipoweza kujibu common interview questions, okay, on my opinion, especially kama wewe umehudhuria madarasa yetu, najua kabisa sababu kuna watu wengi ambao hawapata opportunity ya kuhudhuria madarasa kama haya, si ndio? But wewe umehudhuria darasa kama hili, next time it should be easy for you to know how to answer. Tell me about yourself. Sindio? Or what is your greatest strength? Sawa? Sindio? Kwa sababu zile notes zetu zinaonyesha step by step process, na wale ambao mmehudhuria nilikuwa naonyesha mifano, sindio? Na kuna mifano mingine ilitumwa kwenye group ambao unaweza kupitia. Na wewe mwenyewe unaweza kaenda ukaresearch ukajifunza zaidi. Sio kwamba ukimaliza darasa ndio mwisho. Wewe unaweza kaenda ukadig more materials yourself. Sindio? We are just giving you a head start. Sindio? Wewe kama una common interview questions, let's say 7 kati ya 10. After the common interview questions, umezijibu perfect 9 out of 10. Sawa, umekuwa una score 90. Yale maswali matatu, ina maana wewe you can just grab some few more points. 6 chini ya 10 au 7 chini ya 10. Labda kuna swali moja hujui kabisa. Umeelewa, umekukaught off guard. It's fine. Na unapojibu maswali vizuri yale ambayo ni common, yale ambayo ni common ambayo wanajirudia, ina maana unakuwa na confidence kwa ajili ya maswali yanayofuatia. Umeelewa? Common interview questions. Wewe unaweza ukaprepare yani ukiwa nyumbani kabla hatujapata interview. You can already start doing that. Okay? Alafu na customize to depending na kazi ambayo unaenda kufanya ku interviewed. Kwa hiyo ina maana you don't have to think too much. Tuko pamoja? Sawa? So if you're not prepared, you're not able to answer common interview questions, means you're not prepared. That's period, right? Prepare answers for all common interview questions. We talked about this, review them and make them relevant to the job. So you're customizing them for the job you're applying for. Sindio? Una tweak kwa kiasi fulani. Sindio? Kwa sababu kila kazi itakuwa ni tofauti depending on job description na nini? Na qualifications. Sindio? So, find questions that you're asked that are specific for the role. Okay? Print them out and revise them in advance. Sawa? Kwa hiyo kuna maswali ambayo ni specific kwa kazi ya aina hiyo. So you need to know those questions. Utaprint tu, yanakuwa na majibu yake, utapitia. Kuna maswali ambayo utaulizwa kama wewe ni mhasibu, kuna maswali utaulizwa kama wewe ni engineer, kama wewe ni project manager, kama wewe ni employee environment, kama wewe ni daktari. There are questions depending on the position you're applying for. Okay, yanaweza taka 100. Okay, pitia. If you're applying for specific roles, you can revise these questions even before getting to the interview. That is hakuna kitu kimoja ambacho I can say. As a university student, you're studying very complex things, okay, at university. Very complex. Okay, some of the things we never use them. Okay, and maybe 10 years to come, 15 years, you'll be like, why did I even learn that? But learning how to prepare yourself for interview, learning interview skills is way easier than what you're learning at university, than the lectures that you're doing at the moment. Okay, so this should be an encouragement that these things actually, the soft skills are actually easier to learn. Okay, they are not as complex, as complicated as financial models and economic models. Someone waiting. Okay, sorry. So please, if someone is waiting and I've delayed the meeting, person, just interrupt me. You can interrupt me. Just simply say someone is waiting to make sure people can get in. So, these things, they don't require as much energy as what you're learning at university, because I know what you're learning at university, they're you know, tough. Okay. Situation questions. So we didn't touch on situation questions. We didn't touch on situation questions. Okay. Situation questions, they aim to make you share a previous work-related experience and how you reacted. Okay. Examples. Tell me about a time you went above and beyond for work to ensure that the deadline is met. Okay. Sasa unaweza kuulizwa hani maswali ya situation kwamba kuna kitu kimetokea kazini. Okay? Work akisolve. Sawa. Sasa employer atajaribu kuuliza, okay, so did you had this particular situation, and if it happened to you, how did you go about solving it? Na wakati mwingine that situation has not happened to you. However, you should have a little bit of an idea. If certain situation happen at work, how will I go about solving it? Okay? Are we together? So if I ask you, tell me about the time you went above and beyond to make sure that the work is done, it doesn't mean that it should be something that is common sense, right? For you to go over and above, it means either you have to ask for, you have to work extra hours, correct? Sindio, unaweza ukajikuta umeweka extra hours au umeweka towards the weekend, even to the weekend, kuhakikisha kwamba hizo deadlines zimekuwa met. Sindio? Au umetumia certain system ku organize yourself, organize kazi yako vizuri in a way that you were able to meet deadline. Sindio? Kwa mfano umeomba input kutoka kwa watu wengine mapema in advance. Right? So this should be common sense. But if you haven't worked, maybe in the beginning it's tough, okay, to understand how do you actually go about answering this question. So tell me about the time you had to choose something else over doing a good job. Tell me about the time you have to choose something else over doing a good job. It's not the best example. I would not use this example. Describe a situation where you aren't satisfied with your job. Kwa hiyo wewe unafanya kazi, hujia satisfied na hiyo kazi, unahisi kwamba hiyo kazi haimeet potential yako. It doesn't meet your potential. You think you can do something. Okay? It doesn't meet your qualifications. Okay? Unahisi kwamba you're too qualified for this job. Na hii situation utakutana nayo. Utakutana nayo, utakuwa unafanya kazi sehemu unasema I know I can get a better job. I know I can be in a better company. How do you deal with that situation? Kwa sababu sio kila kazi ambayo unapata utaipenda. Okay? You may get a job and you may not like it. So if you don't like the job, are you going to do a bad job? If you don't like the job, are you going to be late at work? Okay? So what do you do? Okay, how do you get out of that situation if you need to get out, or how do you wait for the perfect opportunity? So this is a situation question. This is a situation that anyone can find themselves into. Okay, tell me about the time you have to deal with a difficult client. Wateja wanatofautiana, si ndio? Unaweza kukutana na mteja ambaye sio mstaarabu. Je, ukutana na mteja ambaye sio mstaarabu, wewe unafanya nini? How do you resolve that? Wewe ukamtukana huyo mteja, au ukamwambia mteja atimke, au ukamwambia mteja kwamba he can find another shop? Kwa sababu wako watu ambao kienda service ni mbaya, unaweza ukahisi kama vile wanataka wewe uende kwenye shop nyingine. Please mute yourself. Whoever is not muted, please mute yourself. Okay, sawa. So you need to be able to explain different situations and how you have dealt with it. So the thing is, there's a formula to do that. You don't have to stress, okay? There's a system in place that is used all over the world, okay? If you go to Dubai, if you go to US, you go to Canada, everyone uses the STAR system for these situation questions, okay? Until when they discover another system, we'll know. But right now, this is a system that is used by CEOs, by managers, by entry level, by graduates. Anyone has to use the same system, okay? Because it's much safer, it's much easier to use this system. So first, you have to identify the situation, which means you say, we had a situation where a client was not satisfied with our service, okay? So you're describing, okay, nini hasa kilitokea? Umeelewa? Describe the problem or challenges. Maana kwamba sasa sawa, situation imetokea. Hii situation ilikuwa affect wewe vipi? Kwa hiyo tutasema okay, because this client was not happy with our service, he wanted to get a refund from us. Okay. Hiyo ndo effect ya hiyo situation, ndio. Je, ulichukua hatua gani? Action. What action did you take? Utasema kwamba okay, when we realized that she wanted a refund, I wanted to ask her a little bit more questions to identify what exactly happened to the merchandise, or what exactly that she did not like about her service. And upon further investigation, I realized one of our service provider did not do a good job. And I suggested to the client that instead of asking for a refund, we can resolve the situation by sending another technician to solve the problem that she was having. And that we can do it on time.
Someone's waiting to be admitted.
Thank you, Joseph. Okay. Umeona? Kwa Kiswahili kwamba okay, wewe ulikuwa kuna mteja ambaye anasema kwamba mimi sijafurahia nani yenu, huduma zenu. Imekuwa affect vipi? Kwa hiyo mteja akasema kwamba mimi nirudishe nini? Hela ambazo nimelipa. Si ndio? Ina maana sasa kwenye task ina maana kwamba wewe you have to process nini? Refund. Lakini wewe action gani uliyochukua? Action uliyochukua ni kwamba wewe ukajaribu kufuatilia zaidi, kumuuliza mteja maswali zaidi ili kujua nini hasa tatizo. ili kuangalia namna gani ya kulisolve ile tatizo, kwa sababu kumrudishia pesa mteja sio solution ya haraka, sio the only solution. Unaweza ukajaribu ku identify labda kuna namna nyingine tunaweza kusolve issue, kwa sababu tena unatoa hela kutoka kwenye kampuni kusolve hiyo nini. Je, kuna namna nyingine ya kuresolve hiyo situation? Kwa hiyo umeongea na mteja, umwambia sikiliza, kwa nini sisi tusikuletee mnani mwingine, technician mwingine akaiangalia hiyo dish yako, au akaangalia hiyo nani yako ya electrical appliances, after to resolve. Umeona? Na to resolve on time, na mimi mwenyewe nitaisimamia. Then unamwashua huyo mteja kwamba mimi personally I'll oversee, alafu ka apologize. Okay, kwa hiyo sasa unaonyesha actions. Okay, kwamba I investigated the situation, I suggested alternative solutions, I apologize to the client. Okay, results, nini kichotokea baada ya kufanya hizo action? Nasema the results that the client decided to go ahead with my suggestion, which saved us a client, number one, and second, the refund that we would have to pay. Umeona? So okay, so good. Kwa sababu may break down into STAR, right? You have described the situation, you have described what kind of tasks that you needed to do, okay? And then you describe the action that you have taken. So, and then you have explained the results that benefit came out of that. So interest ya employer anakuwa interested kwenye nini? Kwenye action na results. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu we want to know what did you actually do to solve that situation. Yes, tasks na challenge problem na yani problem na challenges zipo zitatokea tu, lakini mimi niko interested kujua wewe ulichukua action gani, na kutokana na hizo actions ulizochukua ulipata results gani, kwa sababu mimi nataka kuona results. Nataka kuleta mtu kwenye kampuni yangu ambaye atanipa results, kwamba ikitokea kitu anaweza kukisolve. Umeshanaelewa? Tuko pamoja?
Mr. Alfred.
Tuko pamoja. Au nitoe mfano mwingine?
Mr. Alfred, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
We are 4 minutes away into starting our second session on presentation skills.
Wow. Okay. Then let me finish this quickly. I think we are almost done. Thank you for giving me heads up. Wow. How is it? Okay. So we have seen that experience verification questions. These are what were your responsibilities in that position. This tries to find out kama your experience you share is true. Okay, experience verification questions are questions that they test you to see that if what you are saying that you did in the previous job is true. Because people forge CVs. Okay, kama ulikuwa unafikiria kuforge CV, don't do that. Okay, because you'll be tested. Okay, sawa, period. Opinion question. How would you go about dealing with it when that is struggling? They just want to understand how things that you don't necessarily have a formula on how to go about doing something. They just want to try to understand your mindset, your approach, right? Kwa hiyo ulikuwa na teammate ambaye alikuwa na struggle, je, ulimsaidia au kumsaidia? They're both right depending on the situation. Wakati mwingine you're too busy, you cannot help your teammate. Okay? You're too cramped up with work, you're in deadline, you cannot help your teammate. You have to make sure deadlines are met, right? But there are situations where you may help your teammate because the pressure is low, you have time to actually help your teammate. But there are other ways of helping your teammate. You can refer that to the person to the supervisor or to HR for more training. Okay, behavioral questions. Have you ever made a decision? So this, the important things to consider when preparing for behavioral questions: to start job description, review major projects that you have worked on, revisit previous job performance reviews, make a list of professional accomplishments, use the STAR method again to structure a response, be honest and open. So, what kind of animals do you like? These are called nonsense questions. Questions that they don't make sense at all. You're sitting in the interview, someone say, could you tell me how many leaves do you think there in that tree? Okay, there's a tree outside and someone is telling you, unaweza ukafikiria kwamba kuna majani mangapi katika huo mti. Sasa it doesn't make sense, but the whole idea is to just show your thinking. Okay, kwamba okay, from what I can see, the tree is probably 20 meters high. There are around five branches. Each branch may have about 5 sub branches. That means approximately there are about X amount of leaves. So it's not about correctness of the answer, it's about the approach towards that answer. It's trying to break it down, and that nonsense question, and trying to make sense out of it. Okay, so okay, so icing the cake, I touched a little bit, is making sure that they usually ask you, do you have any question for us? This is the last question they will ask before finishing the interview. Don't say you don't have a question. Don't say that. Never say that. Never say that. Never do that. Never do that. Okay, just have your 3 questions, 2 to 3 questions prepared beforehand, what you're going to ask them. They have to be very specific, and they have to be based on the research you have done. And that is the end of the presentation. Thank you very much, guys. So I think what we're going to do, the next session, and then we'll do the questions for both sessions, I guess, maybe very quickly, and a guidance. Is that okay?
We could have about 3 to 5 minutes of questions.
Okay, let's do that.